Hello, we are back. I am once again here with Justin.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. And this time we're going to be talking about more of the Mushoku Tensei web novel. And not entirely 100% sure what sections we're going to cover here, but most likely it is going to be from 14 to the end of 20.
Well, they'll know by the video title.
Yeah,
so.
you'll see the fucking title.
We'll figure it out by the end.
We're playing it a little bit by ear, but that's probably what we're doing. So, yeah, this is a fucking such an important section, right? I mean, this is like, this whole section sets up like literally everything, right? Like
so much happens in such a little time.
Yeah, I mean, it's up until the labyrinth, it's very slice of life, and even after the labyrinth, we get all of volume 14. It's kind of like, oh, I guess we're going back to this then. It feels like, like everything's the tension is way down low, because volume 14 is just like, Roxy gets employed at the Magic Academy.
Yeah.
All this stuff with Norn figuring out stuff, Rudeus taking classes, stuff like that, talking about his kid. They learn some Water King magic, shit like that. Yeah. So it's a very chill section. I had a pretty good time.
Change after, Paul dies, so.
Yeah, no fucking
There's like
shit.
a time skip too, I think, between 13 and 14, right?
Yeah, very small one, I think, yeah.
Yeah.
Like that. But, yeah, I mean, it's a nice change of pace, and it feels kind of like a return to form a little bit. So it's a good section. I like it. And we were talking about how at the end of each of the chapters in volume 9 or volume 14, there's like the section that's like a rumor about Rudeus in the school. There's a Bancho is a monster. Bancho loves children, shit like that. It's pretty fun. Yeah. So these chapters are fun. Not super crazy noteworthy, just like good character building. See where our characters are going from here. See how everyone's adapting stuff. It's a good time.
I think in 14, doesn't Zenoba build the replacement arm for him?
Yeah, what, Zereth's prosthetic hand?
Yeah, whatever weird name they give it.
Yeah, I think
Zenoba continues to be the GOAT.
Yeah, pretty raw. Yeah, and I mean, prosthetic becomes very important in 15 and 16, so yeah, all that stuff is pretty fun, for sure. And then in in 15, is this also the section there's graduation ceremony is chapter 10 of volume 14? Is that Rinnia and Persona graduating then?
Because they have the fight and Persona wins.
Yeah, they have a fight for who will be the village chief, pretty much.
They kind of go at it. They kind of go crazy.
Yeah, that was a good fight. I enjoyed that. It's a bit emotional because it's kind of like, they both kind of play it off like it's important to them the whole time, but they also like neither of them tries very hard for the spot in their day-to-day lives. But then like this moment comes and it's kind of like, you can start to feel some of that like tension and desperation. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
definitely. So we got 15, and 15 is mostly about Nanahoshi, right?
15 is sick.
Yeah, 15 is really good. Nanahoshi gets sick, and we don't know how, but we know she's gonna die, kind of thing. Perugius can't cure it, that kind of thing. And so Rudeus has to set out to the Magic Continent to try to find Kishirika to have her diagnose it and see if there's anything she can do about it. I mean, there's a lot of stuff happening here, but there's some really good moments beforehand with Nanahoshi because, this is kind of where we like start to get some of the like final elements of her character, like really understand what she's going through, how she feels, all that stuff. It's a really good section for sure for her character. I really enjoy that we get like a slow build up through what she's experiencing, all that kind of stuff.
I think Perugius is introduced in this arc, so.
Yeah, is it really the first time?
I think so, because they go to visit him.
Yeah, I suppose, huh?
Which is just cool because they showed the floating castle way earlier in the story. And it's just a sense of like, look how far we've come. We're here now.
Yeah, no joke.
And Perugius really likes Zenoba, which is funny. So
yeah, I love that they have like a really cool relationship because they just like they both appreciate really fine art on a super technical level, that kind of shit.
Yeah, it's funny.
That's super sick. I really, really love that. To the point where it's like Rudeus is like with them at the same time. And he's like, "Wow, they just hit it off way better than I did. I'm just kind of lost."
That was crazy.
It's so good. It's so good. Yeah. I love that. But yeah, so I mean, I've talked a ton about Nanahoshi's character in my other video, but Nanahoshi, you know, she's overcome with all these feelings of like wanting to return, having so many regrets in the past, and like being kind of jealous that Rudeus can like live in this world like kind of regret free kind of stuff from his past life, and like honestly work towards being more powerful and stuff like that. I mean, he has mana and is like really powerful at this point, so it's definitely something worth being jealous over when she gets literally none and
becomes
stuff
sick
like this. Yeah,
because
she
of
really
it. Yeah,
becomes sick because of it. You know, she just feels like such an outsider. She can't like match with the people of this world at all, unlike Rudeus, who has adapted to it so well for the most part. So it's a very emotional segment, you know. But through all that, you know, we kind of get like Nanahoshi and Rudeus are getting like actually pretty close at this point, you know. So it's kind of like the final bit of like really making them actually become good friends kind of deal. Whereas like before they've been like decent friends and like related through being otherworlders and that kind of stuff. But like she like always keeps people so far. Yeah. She always just keeps such a social distance from other people. But yeah, I really enjoyed seeing more about her and that kind of stuff. Although it does make Sylphie very jealous, which is funny, but I don't know. I like how frequent that is of a thing, like particularly that she doesn't like Nanahoshi and that she is jealous of Nanahoshi. Like every other girl, it's like she understands and doesn't care that much, but like with Nanahoshi in particular, it just like rubs her the wrong way kind of thing. I think that's really funny.
And it's a legitimate worry, you know, because he has 2 wives now, so...
Yeah. Well, and it's funny, too, because it's like, you know, it's kind of something portrayed as if it's like, you could think of it maybe as like, oh, it's not a big deal because obviously he doesn't actually, like, want to fuck her or anything like that, you know, not at all.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, it's like something that you could obviously play off as a joke, but it's like such an actual concern for Sylphie that it bothers her a lot. Like it's kind of not a joke, you know, like it's an actual issue of her character that doesn't ever really super get solved because it's like it's just like an anxiety that you can't deal with at some point. So
yeah,
I think it's really well portrayed in that way. So yeah, he goes to Magic Continent. They find Kishirika very easily. I don't know how this keeps fucking happening.
She's everywhere, dude.
Yeah, it's really funny because it's like Atofei's guards are like, oh yeah, we've been looking for her forever. We can't find her. She got wanted posters and shit. And then, you know, within fucking 30 minutes, it's like, oh, there she is. So pretty funny. But yeah, they find Kishirika. Kishirika's like, oh, it's probably this whatever disease. I forget what it's called. Like
I think it was just magic sickness.
Yeah, is it magic sickness? Yeah, either way, it's like Mana is like stuck in her body or whatever because she doesn't have a normal relationship with Mana because she's a foreign entity basically, and it will kill her and build up if given enough time. But
it's
super
like
easy
Pikmin,
cure to
you
it.
know?
It's like what?
It's like Pikmin, you know? You ever played Pikmin?
No, I haven't actually.
The planet, like the oxygen is poisonous and foreign, so if he's there for too long, that sort of thing.
Oh, I see. Sheesh.
That's why the game has like a time limit in the first one, so.
That makes sense, I suppose, huh?
Yeah.
My only knowledge of Pikmin is from the trailer in Luigi's Mansion.
Oh, yeah, I forgot you can watch that in there.
Yeah. That was the only way I knew about Pikmin for like a long time, and I was like, I remember always watching that trailer as a kid, being like, "Whoa, this is crazy."
Pikmin's sick.
Yeah, it seems cool. I should play it sometime.
Yes. Anyway.
But yeah, Kishirika's like, well, it's a disease that has like almost entirely died out, but it makes sense that it would come back like for this special scenario where she has literally no mana.
Right. Yeah.
But it's really easy to cure. All you need is this one random plant and to make tea out of it, and it will cure her. It's like, wow, that's great. She's like, yep, and for that reason, I even had people grow it throughout the ages just in case. And it's like, wow, Kishirika kind of thought this shit through, actually.
She's like, on top of her damn game.
Yeah, wow, she might not be a complete idiot. Like, unfortunately, the place is being grown as the Demon Lord Castle, where Atofe sits, and you know, she's like a little tiny bit willing to cooperate-ish, So he goes there to Atofe, and he's like, yeah, can get please help, thanks. and she's like, fuck you, fight me, pretty much.
Yeah, because they find out, like, basically through the guards that everyone grants a favor. She's like, okay, you have to fight me, and then they become basically her subordinate for like 5 years. So,
yeah, I mean, isn't it for their whole life?
I thought
it's for their whole life, but like, isn't it their subordinates for their whole life? But once every 5 years, they like go back for a year or something like that. I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
Oh yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, so. Well, I mean, just beat her. Well, like, if you just beat her,
just win.
Just win. The demon, like, specifically Bodyguardi and Atofe are so fucking obnoxious because they are, like, the kind of demon lords, like, they're the immortal clan where it's just, like, literally they are not good at fighting. They're stupid. Their techniques suck, but they just have really broken Toki.
Yeah.
That is, like, oh, you gotta be king class or higher. Like, it just completely gates out, like, everything weaker.
Zenoba, but stronger.
Yeah, it's literally Zenoba, but also works on magic. Like,
yeah,
Zenoba, but works on magic, and also like they regenerate super hardcore. So it's really frustrating having to fight them because it's like they're not even good at fighting particularly. They just like use brute strength and are really broken. You know, like it's kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
So yeah, he fights with them, and this fight. I really, really like this fight.
It was cool.
This fight
there's a lot going on.
Yeah, there's a ton going on. You know, the whole deal is that she has this guard team with her that has like really, really high spec armor. It's like black armor, right? And she does nothing but train them mercilessly the whole fucking time of their lives, pretty much after they become her servants and stuff like that.
Aren't they? They're demons. I think one of them's name is like Smith or something. The guard captain.
Yeah.
He's like a smoke dude or something.
Moore is the guard captain.
Moore, yeah.
And yeah, they're like, there's like one of the first instances of like a really well-oiled team fight kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it becomes really apparent that even though Rudeus is he's with Zenoba, and is he with someone other than Zenoba? Ellen Elise too, right? Or no? I'm trying to remember.
No, yeah, it's Ellen Elise is there too.
Well, I was thinking, is she pregnant by this point? Or no, this would be right before she's pregnant. So yeah, it's Zenoba and
I think she gets when she's pregnant is when they go to the Pope area.
No, I was just reading 16, and she's pregnant in 16.
Oh, so. Okay. Well,
but this is probably like right before that. Let me just scroll through really fast. Yeah, okay, it's Ellen Elise. Oh, and but yeah, this fight is really good because it's a really well-oiled team fight where it's like basically Moore's team combined with Atofe being just like able to rampage pretty much for very few repercussions. I mean, Zenoba mostly holds her off for a lot of the fight, so it becomes kind of a magic battle because her like squad led by Moore is a really, really talented magician with lots of combat experience.
Yeah.
And the rest of them are also pretty good at magic and stuff like that, but mostly they're just really strong for like as a whole, and like they're really, really good at working together kind of thing.
Isn't there a point in the fight where Zenoba just gets like fucking destroyed? Everybody's like, "Oh shit, is he dead?" Then he just gets back up. He's like, "Okay, whatever, never mind."
That probably happens. I don't quite remember that.
There's a fight definitely that happens in.
Yeah, I mean,
his armor just gets like fucking dented in or something.
Yeah, he's a fucking beast. So yeah, this fight is really cool. I mean, we see the deaths of like Moore and Rudeus trying to fight each other, and Rudeus like gets put in a really, really bad situation because of how powerful Moore and his team are. I mean, it's really difficult. It looks like they're going to lose, and he uses lightning magic, fucks everything up, kind of just AoE hits everybody pretty much, but everything kind of ends up going a little bit well, and they start getting away. But when they get to the teleportation circles, it's like, they're following us still, like we didn't get far enough away through some trickery on Moore's part, you know, because at first it's like, oh, Moore is sympathetic, he doesn't want us to get captured either kind of thing. Yeah. But actually it's like, no, actually he's just helping her to capture them, like he doesn't care really. But they get what they need, and they make their way to escape, but they get followed because of this, and right as they get to the teleportation circle, it looks like it's gonna be bad. I forget. I think one of them goes through the teleportation circle or something, but it leads to Perugius's castle, right? Like,
yeah.
And so Perugius comes out, and he's like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 there, partner! what are you doing in my castle? Hold on now. Just wait a second here.
Hold it, partner.
Yeah. And it's like, Perugia said he wasn't going to help, really. Well, partially because he had no idea that it was going to be a Tophe that they were fighting, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, like, we learned that this is kind of his business because him and Tophe were really good friends with, is it North God Kalman the second, I believe? Or maybe the first?
I could not tell you, but that sounds right.
Yeah, one of them who was married to Tophe, and Perugius and Tophe were both, like, obviously really interconnected with him. Tophe married him, and he was like Perugius' best friend or a really good friend or something like that. But both of them live way longer than that guy lives, obviously. So it's like Tophe and Perugius hated each other then, though, like, despite that. And so when Tophe's husband, I'm pretty sure it was a North God Kalman.
It sounds right.
But it could have been someone else, but I'm pretty sure that's who it is. And he's like on his deathbed, he's like, okay, but you two can't kill each other. Like, you guys gotta quit fucking fighting. It's stupid. Like, that kind of thing. And they're like, I mean, I guess we won't kill each other, that kind of thing. But, you know, this is kind of a moment where it's like, well, they attacked me first. And so Perugius is like, he's like extremely eager to help because he comes back and he's like, not only have they initiated on me, kind of unwillingly or like unknowingly, but also Rudeus has like beaten the fuck out of them already. Like, they're super weakened. So Perugius is basically just like, you just handed them to me on a silver platter. So he fucks them all up, and Tophe is super mad. She's like, oh, this was a trap all along. A curse you, Perugius, you broke your vows. And he's like, I didn't do shit. This isn't my fault. And besides, you can't die anyways. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
So, works out super well in the end. And, you know, Rudeus is kind of like, oh my gosh, thank you so much, you know. And he's like, nah, thank you. I've always wanted to beat the fuck out of her. Like,
you gave me a good opportunity.
Yeah, so that was really, really well done. I had a lot of fun with that. It made good sense. It made good sense, for sure. But, yeah, so that was fun. But it was also really scary because, you know, I mean, Rudeus almost, like, not die, but got captured, like, forever, pretty much, kind of deal. I mean...
Yeah, he would have been, like, he couldn't afford to lose that much time, basically, so...
Yeah, pretty much. He would have been screwed, for sure. So, it kind of sticks in his mind as, like, a moment where it was like, oh, fuck, I almost, like, lost my life, pretty much.
Would have been no good.
Yeah, and it's, you know, it's emblematic of all the fights that come from this point onward, where it's just, like, really interesting skill contests in a lot of ways. You know, like, team synergy becomes a way bigger deal in a lot of these fights, and thinking about how to counteract specific things. Like, the Moore fight is kind of where Rudeus is like, damn, even though I'm, like, technically stronger than him, he has a lot more experience, and, like, I would beat him one-on-one, but it would take me so long to beat him one-on-one that he could, like, stop me for a whole fight or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it becomes a lot like, most fights in Mushoku Tensei are never just raw power bouts. Right. There's so much, like, skill differences and ideas that come into play, so it's pretty cool.
There's definitely a lot that are, like, raw power bouts, for sure, I would say, but, like, not necessarily, like, important fights.
Yeah, like, the main fights, I mean, usually are not. Yeah, do not go that way.
For sure. So, it's emblematic of, like, the good writing that'll come from here on out. And then, so all that stuff happens, and then Hoshi is super grateful. She's like, oh my god, I can literally never repay this debt, kind of deal.
Yep.
So, pretty cool stuff. Everything's good. And then, bam! Maybe the climax of the whole series, Turning Point 4 happens at the end of Volume 15. I mean, Turning Point 4 is just... I bet this was, like, a bit controversial when it came out, or, like, I bet there's definitely people who think this is kind of like a cheap trick for a plot turn kind of thing.
Yeah, because, I mean, this is literally, like, what happens for the rest of the story. This is...
Yeah, I mean, this is what I would say is the main point of the story from here on out. Like,
yeah.
And so much so that's not resolved by the end of the story, pretty much. And, like, you know, we got potentially a sequel that will be about this, continuing this story, maybe finishing it. Who knows? Mm-hmm. So, Turning Point 4, Hirogami comes in Rudeus' dreams. And he's like, dang, how's stuff been? He's like, well, it's been pretty good. You know, I didn't follow your advice. Sorry about that. And he's like, you know, I shouldn't be so hostile to you anymore. It feels like kind of does feel like you're working in my best interest most of the time. He's like, oh, I'm glad. And then he's like, well, what would have happened if I did follow your advice? He's like, well, you would have married the 2 Beast Clan girls, Renea and Persina, and Roxy and Paul. Neither of them would have died.
He's like,
so,
shit.
Yeah. So Paul wouldn't have died, and he's like, oh, well, but I had to save Roxy, right? He's like, well, if you didn't go to save Roxy, then the merchant you were with would have caused the Traveler to buy something different, and the Traveler would have bought a map, and he would have came, and he would have helped them, and Gisu would have had an idea to reproduce maps and sell them at a cheap price, etc., etc. They would have got enough help, and they would have saved Roxy on their own, all that kind of stuff. And he's like, wow. He's like, yeah, but it would have taken them longer. It would have been 2 years, but they would all be alive. He's like, huh. That is kind of regrettable. Which, it sucks that, you know, he's kind of like, damn, it really fucking sucks that Paul dies. I'm glad, like, Roxy fell in love with me, and if he didn't go, Roxy wouldn't have fallen in love with him in this particular way.
Yeah, it would have been more of just like
Yeah. We find out in a bit, and we'll get to it. But at this point, he's like, he doesn't know if he would get married to Roxy at all if he hadn't gone. Because she would have fallen in love with whoever saved her, pretty much. But in that case, who she fell in love with wouldn't reciprocate her feelings. So, but, you know, it would have taken them longer, but Paul would be alive. So he can't really be happy with the outcome. So he's like, damn, I really should have trusted you. And so he says, well, hey, this time, instead of advice, I need you to do a little favor for me. I need you to do a little favor.
Just a little.
Just a little favor. Go check the basement. See if there's anything weird there. If nothing's weird, that's fine. Come back. He's like, that's all? That's all I need you to do for me. Says, you know what? Sure, this is fine every once in a while. And he wakes up, and he's like drilling on his fucking diary that he just started. And he goes to leave the door, or open the door and leave, and he feels like there's a presence behind him. And he kind of is like, he like side-eyes it a little bit, and he's like, there's nothing there. And then he keeps getting that feeling, and this is, I really like how this is written, because it's like a feeling of like, there's something there, but I know there's nothing there. And so he like tries to like open the door and like jump, turn around, that kind of thing, where it's like, caught you, that kind of deal. Like it's like a fucking ghost or something, which I find, you know, I'm like, oh yeah, definitely, I feel that. But bam, there is someone there. And he's like, what in the fuck? He's like, is it a thief? Who is it? It's an old guy in a robe, sitting on the chair or whatever. And he's like, you know what? Don't go. Hirogami is deceiving you. And he's like, what? He's like, who are you? And he says, I am. He waits. Says, my name is. And then he says Rudeus' old name from his past life. And the chapter ends. Yeah. And it's like, holy fuck. It kind of makes me wish we knew his name just so they could say his name, right? And we could like realize it ourselves a little bit, but like, yeah,
I wonder why they specifically didn't want us to know his old name.
I don't know. I get it as like it you know, it doesn't really matter what his name is, and it's like something he wants to forget so badly that it's like, you know, maybe it's a little bit of like he really is redoing it. We don't even know his old name type of deal.
Yeah.
But
I think, maybe it's more of like a detachment thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I think this specific moment would work just a tiny bit better if we did know the name though. But
yeah,
I think it's fine.
Still though, it's like, oh, okay.
It's like, yeah, it's like, wow, because immediately we're just like, you know, he's like, literally nobody in this world should know that name. Not even Nanahoshi knows his name. You know, like,
I don't even think Hirogami does. So
yeah, Hirogami doesn't. So he's like, and then he says, I'm you from the future. And then bam, chapter ends. And it's like, oh my god. And so, you know, we get into it. And he's like, I'm you from the future. Hirogami's lying to you. If you go down into that basement, you probably won't find anything. But there's a mouse. And the mouse, he has a special characteristic because he's sick with the sickness. He has violet teeth of like magic stone teeth because he has the magic stone disease. Mm-hmm. If you go down there, you'll let him out. He'll eat some of your leftovers in the fridge or whatever, and then he'll die. Aisha will take him out and like leave his body out or like throw it away or whatever. A cat will eat it. A cat will get magic stone disease, and people will be like, "Oh my gosh, she's magic stone disease. That's kind of scary." And then, but the problem is that between now and then, Roxy will go to eat the leftovers a little bit, and when she does, she'll contract it, and she'll get the magic stone sickness, and he'll only realize it like when it becomes visible, and by then he tries to cure it, and he doesn't get back in time, and she dies. And he's like, what? How is that possible? Kind of deal. Like, no way. And he's like struggling to believe it still a little bit because Rudeus is really, really on guard and hesitant on the situation, which, I mean, pretty fair.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, like, someone just appeared in your room next to you, so.
And he's like, someone time travel in this, like, world? Really? He's like, well, I mean, I came from a different world. It's pretty believable, I suppose, but still, he's really hesitant about it. I don't know. I think
time travel didn't really work fully correctly.
Yeah, it didn't work fully because basically he's only got his upper half at this point. Or it's like, maybe it's just a hole in the stomach area exactly.
Yeah, I think he's lost a lot of like organs or something.
Yeah, either way, he's missing a huge chunk of his body, and he is like on his deathbed pretty much. But, so he says, no, you don't understand. Sylphie also dies. And he's like, whoa, how is that possible? He's like, you don't pay attention to her after Roxy dies. You're too upset. She leaves, and she gets killed fighting with Ariel, and they lose. And it's like, oh my God. And so he's like, yeah, you lose both of them. You lose those two. And he's like, so here's what I want you to do, okay? Don't go to the fucking basement. It's a trap. I want you to write a letter to Eris and tell her that, I think the specific wording is like, hey, I've been unfaithful, but I still love you, or some shit like that.
Shit, I messed up.
Yeah, and Rudeus is like, what? No, I do not like her at all. Like, that kind of, like, she left me brokenhearted kind of thing. He's like, no, dude, it was a complete misunderstanding. Like, you think she could write a letter that would tell you her feelings well? Like, that kind of thing. And he's like, what? And he's like, she's been training the Holy Sword Land this whole time. She's coming back to help you. She doesn't feel any differently. And Rudeus kind of starts to get it through his head. He's like, oh, really? That is interesting. Because, this whole time he thought she dumped him. And that, he's been really upset by it. He fucking, like, 3 years of his life, he had ED and was, like, super depressed about it. I mean, it was a big deal. So he's like, write a letter to her. Talk with Nanahoshi about what you should do, that kind of stuff. And, like, he says that Nanahoshi, in the end, fails to return. And so he wants Rudeus to discuss that with her a little bit, to, like, prepare for it, all that kind of stuff. Because in his timeline, he was not good enough emotional support for Nanahoshi, and it is heavily implied that she probably killed herself. So, pretty rough. What was the third thing he wanted to do? There was those two, and
doesn't he tell him to join up with Orsted and to fight Hitogami?
No. He says, doubt Hitogami, but don't oppose him directly, so that Hitogami doesn't like come after him.
Oh
basically.
Yeah, you got to be discreet about it.
Yeah, which I don't know why he says that when Hitogami almost 100% saw that entire conversation, because when he meets Hitogami next, he's like, what the fuck, you came from the future? How's that work? Like, a little bit of an oversight there, I would say. But,
slightly.
So, that happens. Old man tries to get all he can out, that kind of stuff. We see that he has, like, really strong magic power. Like, he shuts the door from across the room.
Yeah, he discovered fucking gravity magic.
Yeah, he's got gravity magic. He's got really strong lightning magic. Like, when he talks about Hitogami, he gets so angry he punches the desk and, like, lightning scatters across the room. It's really sick. And
old Rudeus go crazy.
Yeah, I mean, he's, like, very clearly strong as hell kind of thing. And so he's like, you gotta do all this, you gotta do this. And he's like, well, can't you teach me more about, like, how specifically do the magic stuff like that? He's like, I don't have time kind of thing. He's like, what do you mean you don't have time? And he's like, come to think of it, the me of this age was a slacker. Like, quit relying on people so hard and, like, train harder kind of stuff. He's like, damn, I mean, I guess. Which is very true. I mean, he has not been trying to improve himself, like, physically in terms of, like, fighting potential in a long time. It's more been just, like, trying to keep up his relationships with others and, like, study what he needs to.
Like, compared to when he was growing up, how much
he
was doing.
Definitely. And it's like, it's not like he's being particularly lazy. It's just he's not combat oriented at all at this point. Partially because he's had such low self-confidence a lot of time where he's like, oh, I'm not really that strong. Like a tiny bit, I'm like pretty good, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But he comes to realize it slowly. So all that happens and the old man dies. Rudeus realizes, oh my god, he's missing a huge chunk of his body kind of deal.
Yeah.
He dies. It's very sad. Especially because he's like, has a vision of like Roxy and Sylphie kind of thing at the same time. It's like, damn, man, that is quite tough. And Rudeus kind of like brushes those two off. He's like, oh, no, it's fine. Just like go back to bed kind of thing. And this part always sticks with me. He like takes him out back and like throws out the leftovers too. And he takes him out back and like buries his body and burns him alive. He's like, the smell of my own corpse, like burning alive.
Kind of
it's
fucked
like,
up.
It's like, Jesus Christ, man. So, yeah. And since the old version of him used his diary from the day he like first made his diary, which was this exact day, as like the leap back point, which was 50 years in the past. He jumped back. He gives Rudeus his diary from that time. So like all the completed diaries from all the stuff he experienced. And the next 2 volumes are basically about reading that, which, I mean, a lot of stuff happened in the diary. This section is a really, really interesting read because it's like
fucking depressing.
Yeah, I mean, it's fucking depressing. This is basically what if he did go to the basement and just like followed Hitogami's orders kind of thing. And so it's like he goes to the basement. There's a magic mouse. Aisha's like, oh, there is a weird dead mouse, and they don't think about it at all. And then eventually, Roxy gets sick, and he's like, oh fuck, we gotta like cure magic stone disease.
That disease is fucking messed up, dude.
Yeah, it's messed up because only women who are pregnant can be infected by it, and it turns the baby into a magic stone, and then slowly the whole mother becomes a magic stone, right? And they die, right?
It's like turning into a stone slowly. It's like painful as hell.
That's super fucked up. I mean, seriously. And the thing that's special about it, they mentioned this before. I came into this when I was rereading the school arcs. They talk about how the God class detoxification magic, or detoxification, is only used for curing magic stone disease. That's the only use for it. So now it comes up here, and we're like, oh shit, yeah, right. They did tell us that.
Mm-hmm.
So that was cool foreshadowing. And so Cliff like identifies it with his special eye he got from Kishirika, and he's like, yeah, it's magic stone disease. And they know the only place that has like the actual scroll for it basically is in Milishion, right?
Mm-hmm.
The temple order, or whatever you want to call it.
The Holy Order area.
Yeah. They have the chant for it. And they're like, okay, we're going to go break in kind of thing and like write it down for ourselves and then come back and cure her. So they take Cliff, they take Rudeus, they take Zenoba. I forget if they take Sylphie. No, I don't think so.
No, it's just those 3.
Yeah, I think it's just those 3. They go there, and they get there, and they're like, you can only get in if you're like Archbishop level or whatever, so they have to break in. They break in, and they're like, wow, this is a fucking book. Like, you absolutely cannot like transcribe this like they plan to. So they end up having to actually steal it. And sure enough, since they're stealing it, they get found out on the way out. They have to break their way out. It's a big, long fight. They fight a bunch of assassins. There's an ambush of assassins right at the teleporter.
Yeah.
Because they know about it, and they get into a fight. And Cliff gets poisoned, doesn't regain his consciousness. He dies. And they make it back.
It's fucking sad.
Yeah, it's really fucking sad. They make it back eventually, but by the time they make it back, Roxy has already been like half covered in stone. She is completely fucking dead. And also, Cliff is dead. And there's like the detail of like, I had to tell Ellen Elise, and she slapped me across the face and we never saw her again, kind of thing. Yeah. It's like, man. And she's pregnant.
The most depressing one, the journal entry is just like, Roxy died today. I don't feel like writing anything.
Yeah. And he said,
like, fuck.
Yeah, he said that too. When Cliff, like when he realizes Cliff is dead, he's like, I don't feel like writing anymore today. I was like, yeah. That's such a like good way of conveying that. Like you immediately get it entirely. Yeah, it's really well written in that way. So and I like that, like during the diary stuff, like I think at this point, or maybe a tiny bit later, like he breaks it up into like reading it in 2 separate chapters, and it's like at some points of reading the diary, he's just like, this is way too depressing to read. And he like takes a break and he just clings onto his family for like a whole day. He's like, hey, you're not dead, right? Right?
You guys
right?
good? We all good? Okay.
Yeah. It's very sweet. Like, he's like spoiling Aisha too. Where he's like, because later you also learn that like pretty much everyone dies, including Aisha. And so he's like, here, Aisha, I'll buy you something. And she's like, what? Yeah, I'll feel bad if Norn doesn't get something too. And he's like, oh, they'll keep it a secret. It's fine. And even though he plans to also get Norn something, he's like, and she's like, oh my god, what are you trying to do? Could it be you're after my body? Should I clean myself and come to your room tonight? And he's like, dude, shut up.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny. I do like how, like, you know, this is a pretty degenerate light novel all together kind of thing. I do like that Rudeus, like, never crosses that line at all. Like, he's just like, no, dude, that's fucking, I can't see them at all like that.
Uh-huh.
I think that is a good moral standard to have. Yeah. So, but, yeah, so after that, it comes back to read more of the diary, and more of the diary, it's like, after Roxy is dead, he's, like, just completely inconsolable. All he does is drink, because when he doesn't drink, he just feels sad and cries. And so he starts going out into bars to drink all the time. Mm-hmm. And after being out in bars long enough, he gets called over to by a prostitute when he's drunk one time, and he has sex with her, cheats on Sylphie again, and comes back home.
He just becomes a shitty fucking husband.
Yeah, just completely becomes a shitty person in general. Comes back home, Sylphie's like, man, am I not fucking good enough for you? She's super sad and broken up about it. It's really hard to read.
It's rough. It's rough.
It's really bad. And he's like, I'll apologize to her tomorrow, I guess. Like, that kind of thing.
Shit.
And, you know, when tomorrow comes, she's gone. She's left with Ariel and Luke to go to the capital to revolt, that kind of thing. And it's like, shit, I missed my opportunity to apologize. I like that he delays it. He says, I'll apologize to her tomorrow kind of thing. Just like in his previous life, when he had that friend over that he got into an argument with, and he's like, instead of apologizing immediately, he's like, I'll apologize to him tomorrow when he comes over, and then he never comes over again. Mm-hmm. That kind of thing. It's the same thing. He made the same mistake again in this diary. So I thought that was really good.
Spiraling.
Yeah. And so he's like, okay, well, after some convincing, he's like, okay, yeah, I have to go catch them. And he goes to the capital. They're not at the capital. He can't find them. And then he hears a rumor, oh, she's in the Millibots region or whatever. And he goes there. And in this region, it's where the Notice House is. And he heard they're hiding out there. He goes there. Eris is there. Beats the fuck out of him. He gets captured because he's wanted by Miliciana at this point, right? And he gets thrown in jail with Philemon or Pylemon or whatever. The guy who was working with Ariel. And because, you know, they've been revolting or whatever. Mm-hmm. And while they're in jail, Pylemon is like, oh, have you executed for betraying blah, 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 blah. Doesn't matter. He breaks out. And he's like, it was a misdirect. I have to go back to the capital. I heard the revolt's going on in the capital now. He gets there. And by the time he gets there, the revolt has been put down. The Water God and the North Emperor have been hired by the First Prince. And they killed everybody. Ariel was executed. And her entire army they were all killed, including Luke and Sylphie, whose bodies are displayed on the town square kind of thing.
Yes. And then Rudeus just fucking kills everyone there pretty much.
Yeah, because they're throwing rocks at her and shit, and she's there with a giant gash down her head and one of her arms missing. It's horrific.
Yeah.
And he's just
burns everyone alive.
Yeah, he's completely traumatized. So he's like, I'll just burn their bodies. He's like, I burnt all their bodies. I burnt anyone who got in my way too. This whole country should disappear. And it's like, fuck. Jesus. I mean, depressing. That's depressing. So at this point, both of his wives are now dead. Because of mistakes he made, pretty much. So, you know, he gets back home. I think this is when Hitogami is comes to him in his dreams. He's like, good work, because of you, everything's going according to plan, kind of shit. And he's realizes he's now realizing, oh, Hitogami set this up. I have to kill him. He has to die, kind of thing. And so a lot of the rest of the part of the diary is old Rudeus getting a lot stronger, that kind of thing, developing more magic techniques and stuff like that. This is where we first learn about the fighting god armor, which is super important. And he says, I read about the fighting god armor. He used armor to coat his whole body. It's really strong. He's like, I wonder, Zenoba thinks of an idea. Hey, what if we did that, like, with the prosthetic arm, but we made it armor across the entire body, kind of, and that would be kind of like the fighting god armor. So they think of that. They create it after a long time. It's really strong, but it has so much mana consumption that, like, only Rudeus can use it pretty much.
He can't use it for very long either, even with his, like, huge well of mana.
Yeah, pretty much. So he's like, but it's so strong. I mean, it says, I achieved physical ability on the level of the 7 world powers. Like, that kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's incredibly powerful. And,
strong boy.
Yeah, so he basically dedicates himself to training and just being a complete, like, degenerate or lurking around town doing nothing but fucking women and being a degenerate and horrible person, getting into fights, stuff like that. And once he realized that he has to kill Hitogami, he goes on a journey around the world trying to get information, fighting a bunch of strong people over and over and over. And it gets to the point where he's so strong, he's just, like, killing everyone, and he does not care. It does not matter. Like, I like how they describe it, and, like, it's like, he doesn't even, like, describe it as if he's interested at some point, where it's just like, I fought X today. He didn't know anything about Hitogami. Like, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, he just kills a bunch of really strong people.
Yeah, it's like, well, they talk about North Emperor, they talk about, like, some water god, maybe, I don't remember. They talk about a bunch of people, pretty much.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah. And he's like, he realized that, like, older people knew more about Hitogami, obviously, because they lived longer, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But he eventually comes to the conclusion that, like, surprisingly, really no one knows very much at all. Like, pretty much no one knows more than he does outside of maybe Orsted, but Orsted's just not going to reveal himself to him ever, pretty much at this point.
Yeah. I wonder what Orsted was doing in that timeline.
Yeah, you have to wonder, right? Like, I wonder if it was kind of like a...
that was probably like the normal timeline, I guess, for him, probably.
No, I don't think so. I think it's just like...
I guess no, yeah, because nothing can be normal once Rudeus is there, because
right, yeah, that's a later on timeline. It has to be.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it was just the case of, like, Orsted recognized how strong he was, and that no matter what, if they got involved, he would have to spend a fuck ton of mana, so he just avoided him at all costs, kind of thing, and spent the time, like, just analyzing what he does instead. That's how I kind of see it, because this whole time he doesn't meet Orsted at all. Yeah, he like talks to Perugius a lot, but Perugius didn't even know who Hitogami was. And it's funny too.
It's kind of surprising. I thought he would have.
Yeah, well, I mean, all he cares about is Lapis, pretty much. He doesn't know.
Yeah, that's true. He's very
anything
narrow-visioned.
Yeah, and he's slightly too young to know
How old
anything.
is Perugius again?
I don't know the exact age, but he's. How do I describe this in terms of not old Dragon's Tale spoilers? He's basically the exact age of, like, how old since the start of the human world being, like, the only world, pretty much, because, you know, it's a six-sided world, but the other worlds don't exist at this point.
Yeah,
he's basically as old as that development.
Pretty old. Okay.
Yeah, so very, very old. Yeah. Yeah. Not older than Lapis though, but so yeah, I like how when he describes, like, in the diary, like, about Perugius not knowing anything, he's like, well, I don't want to, like, try to press him too hard for information. He's, like, the only person I can talk about the good old days with, kind of thing. He's like, I don't want to have to kill him or anything. And Rudeus reads this. He's like, what the fuck? You're strong enough to kill Perugius? Like, I mean, the guy's a monster. And
I wonder if he actually is, or he just thought he was.
I bet he definitely is at that point. Like,
yeah, it could be.
When he's like 50, 60, I mean, he's so strong.
With gravity magic and shit.
Yeah, he's like, I've mastered gravity magic. I can fly through the air. I can communicate at long distances. Like, he has complete control of lightning magic, which we know by this point, roughly, that lightning magic is completely broken. It just ignores Toki. So
yeah, right.
Big deal. So yeah, the end of the diary is basically he roams around. He finds in the Big Arito continent that there's an ancient dragon-like mural kind of thing that talks about where Hitogami is, and that Hitogami is in the Void World, which is the center of, like, the six-sided world, right? and they're on one surface of the six-sided world. The six sides are the human world, the dragon world, the sea world, the demon world, the beast world. How many was that? Human, dragon, sea, beast, demon.
There's a lot of fucking
sky. Maybe I forget, but yeah.
Explorers of Sky.
So, yeah. So it's like there's all those, but currently there's just the human world, and the void world is in the center of all that. That's where Hitogami is. And he's like, oh, okay, that's interesting. He goes to look for another dragon mural. It takes a long time to find these because they're out in the middle of nowhere, and the one he was reading off of is like half broken, basically. And he finds a complete version of it, and deep in the mountains in the Magic Continent. And it reads, and it's like, yeah, to get there you have to have the 5 like dragon treasures kind of thing to reach the void world. And it's like each of the dragon generals has them. Like one of them is lost, presumably Orsted has it, and like 2 of the generals are already dead by this point, and Perugius has one, someone else has the other kind of thing, or Lapis has the other, but Lapis won't be born for another at least like 40 years by this point, when Rudeus is like 60. So he's like, no matter what, I can't get there, is what he realizes. Like, no matter what, I will be unable to fight Hitogami and get there to where he is, no matter what, because he just doesn't live long enough for Lapis to be resurrected, and Lapis has like the last remaining dragon treasure. So he realizes there's nothing I can do, but then he thinks, they talked about it. What's that?
I said Doom timeline.
Doom time. Yeah, I mean actual Doomer timeline. I mean this timeline is just like everything goes right for Hitogami, nothing goes right for Rudeus.
Yeah.
Complete worst case scenario. We also had learned by this point that like the Order of the Temple Knights, since they had a bounty on Zenoba and Rudeus and all that stuff, had sent a bunch of people to go kill Zenoba, and they killed Zenoba, they killed Aisha, they killed Julie, they killed Ginger, they killed all of them, like chopped them up into pieces and shit like that. Like horrific stuff, burned down the house, etc. We don't know where like Lilia, Zenith, and Lucy are at this point. Presumably somewhere else, maybe also dead, who knows. For sure Hitogami is going to kill them if they're alive. But it's just like everybody is dead in this timeline. Everyone he cares about is dead at this point, and the only thing he's living for pretty much is to kill Hitogami. But he just just found out, no matter what I do, I will never be able to fight Hitogami. But he gets the idea from the Dragon Murals. It talks about you combine summoning magic with some other stuff, you might be able to go back in time. So he dedicates himself entirely to studying going back in time. He's not sure if he'll have enough mana, if he can perfect it well enough. He's like, if only Cliff were alive, he would be able to help me make this work better, that kind of stuff. And he eventually gets it to work well enough to where he teleports back in time to Rudeus, but he dies in the process of it, kind of thing.
Yeah, because it wasn't like fully complete.
Yeah, it wasn't perfect. He didn't have the mana he needed to travel that far back and keep his whole body, kind of deal.
Yeah.
So, yeah, pretty tough. But I mean, I really like the very last thing the diary says is he's like, I'm not sure if it'll work or not. It might be a complete failure. And then the very last line is like, but if it does work, I might just give Hitogami one hell of a scare. Like that. And I'm like, oh, that's so sick. That's
fucking raw.
That's so raw. Like, oh shit, man.
Shit.
Yeah, that's super sick. So, reading all that, Rudeus is like, what the fuck do I do here? Like, and then he talks with Hitogami in the dreams, and Hitogami's like, dude, come on, back in time, that's cheating, bro. Like, come on. He's really upset about it. But
yeah,
they talk it over, and it's like, Rudeus is like, yeah, I don't really care, but as long as my family doesn't die, I will do anything within my limitations. And Hitogami's like, well, the problem is you're immune to Orsted's curse, and Orsted is trying to kill me, and he says destroy the world. Debatable statement. Either way,
questionable at best.
Yeah. Either way, Orsted is trying to kill Hitogami, and he's like, Orsted will never beat me because he can't get people to cooperate with him for the most part, pretty much. He's like, that meathead will never get here, kind of thing. And he's like, damn, that confident. Okay. He's like, but the problem is you're immune to the curse, and so are all of your descendants. I foresee a future. Ever since I He's like, ever since I learned about you since the like displacement incident, I realized that you were immune to the curse and that your descendants would like join up with Orsted and eventually they would come and kill me. Like he's like I can see my future very far ahead, and ever since like that day you came to this world, my future's gotten darker and darker, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And Rudeus is like, oh, so you can only see like 3 people's futures at a time? He's like, 3? I can see way more than that. But no matter what, I can't stop seeing my future, and my future very, very far in the head. So that's why it's only 3, including that. He's like, okay, makes sense, I guess.
Right.
So he's like, yeah, the reason I kill your family is because, you know, your family works with Orsted and they kill me. So if I just kill your family, not a big deal. And he's like, okay, what can I do to stop that then? He's like, I mean, there's nothing. He's like, what if I, you know, say, all my family hates the Dragon God no matter what. No one ever cooperate with him, please. He's like, not good enough. You guys are like fated. This is like fated to happen unless we do something about it. And he's like, well, what can I do then? And he says, well, you can kill Orsted. If you kill him, that would solve it. And that's what he ends up like deciding he has to do, pretty much.
Yep.
This section is also really interesting because we learn more about like some things that would like maybe otherwise be plot holes, stuff like that. We learn about how like the concept of fate works, pretty much, right? Where it's like, I was actually having this argument in the Mushoku Tensei Discord the other day, or maybe it was yesterday, where they were like, really, Hitogami didn't like try to like Hitogami really couldn't kill Rudeus at all during like from the teleportation incident to current time. And it's like, the point is he can't particularly kill people with a strong fate to be alive outside of very specific circumstances, right?
Yeah, I mean, they talk about that in the novel, literally.
Yeah,
so.
I think people are just kind of speed reading. Or just like miss details like that. Which
it even mentions how people with a strong fate are people that like tend towards helping Orsted, and also Hitogami can't really directly influence as much. So
right, yeah, you can't directly influence people with strong fate very much, and he can't see anything related to Orsted. So like the deal is, you know, Rudeus has a very strong fate. He's like, no matter what I tried, I can't kill you. Specifically, he says, like, even when you fight Orsted the first time, no matter what I do, you don't die, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of thing. So that, I mean, that's super important. He says, okay, what about like Roxy and the teleport labyrinth? He's like, you know, no matter what, she lives there, but also no matter what, she's fated to have a kid with Rudeus and marry him. That is also fated.
Fate.
Yeah, which we learned a bit later. That like the thing of that is like, right, Rudeus' descendants help Orsted. Specifically, Roxy and Rudeus' kid is also like the savior of humanity kind of thing that helps defeat Lapis, right? So
I mean, it makes sense if you think about it.
So that kid is fated to be born, no matter what kind of deal. Except there are some special circumstances where fate becomes a lot weaker, such as when you are pregnant, your fate is a lot weaker, which is why Hitogami is able to theoretically interfere during that time while Roxy is pregnant, right? And get her to die from the mouse, that kind of stuff. So, no, it's not a plot hole that, like, wow, he really couldn't prevent Roxy from getting saved in the labyrinth at all kind of deal. No. It's just fate. That is just, like, a mechanic you have to assume is true kind of thing. It's not bad writing or anything. So, yeah. That's a lot of explanation and stuff that we come to understand. It's like, okay. Makes sense. Such as there's also other fate, like Eris has a strong fate, Sylphie has a strong fate, etc., etc. So
pretty much almost everyone related to Rudeus has a strong fate. So
yep, definitely. Which, I mean, we learned that later that Eris is supposed to have a strong fate to marry Luke. Actually, like that is fated to pretty much always happen. Not in this timeline, but yeah.
So, in the non-Rudeus timelines.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, Rudeus is like, well, only thing I can do is I can kill Orsted. He's like, well, I'll go fight him. He's like, no, you won't go fight him. You'll go kill him. If you fight him and you die, I will kill all of your kids and your family still. Like, and he's like, okay, yeah, I mean, I guess. So yeah, I mean, that's tough. So they start developing the magic armor, and Hitogami helps them develop it a bit faster and stuff like that because he knows how it works and the fighting god armor and all that kind of stuff. Because I mean, he legitimately does want to see Orsted dead.
Yeah.
There's a big worry in this time, also of like, even if you do kill Orsted, is that gonna like guarantee that Hitogami won't just like decide to kill your family for no reason? Still, like, not exactly a trustworthy guy. We now realize.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, but as far as we can understand, Hitogami is only working out of like self-preservation, basically. He does not want to die. He does not want to be captured or restricted in any way. He just wants to rule the world, pretty much. And so it makes logical sense that, hey, you kill Orsted in this timeline, then no problems here.
Yeah.
So
because it's not really like the main thing that's important about Hitogami, right? Is that it's not he just hates Rudeus like because he's him. It's more of just of what would happen that Rudeus will do eventually that he has to kill him. Right. And killing Orsted literally removes that possibility. So
yeah, exactly.
It's like him having kids would not matter because they can't team up with Orsted, so he wouldn't really have a reason to hurt his family. So
right, yeah. So as far as we can assume, right, would probably uphold his promise, but
I'd like to think he would.
Yeah, but you know, you never really.
He's an interesting villain. He's not like entirely evil, so
yeah.
I don't know.
He's like evil insofar that he will do literally anything in the name of
for
self-preservation.
His own benefit. Yeah.
Yeah. Which, pretty evil, but you know, and you know, at this time you have to think the Boondocks quote that I can't quote because it has bad words in it. What did he do to make them that mad? In terms of Orsted, you know, you think, wow, Orsted really wants to kill him, huh? What did he do to make him that mad? Which you'll find out if you read Old Dragon's Tale. That has the whole background, that side story of the world. It is pretty long, though. I cannot lie. Like,
I mean, it has the entire history, so I would assume so.
Yeah. There's also like a lot of like fluff details of like, you know, getting the feel for like what the dragon world is like is what a lot of it takes place in, and all that kind of stuff. You learn a lot about Lapis.
Mm-hmm.
And another character who I won't spoil who the character is because you only learn it like at the end, maybe at the beginning if you're like assuming every character has to be interconnected some way. But it's very interesting, and I mean it's extremely important as to why Orsted, you know, what Orsted's relation is to everything going on, and why he hates Hitogami so much, why they're fighting in the first place. So big deal. Do we like through this story know like where Orsted comes in like the dragon king god etc lineage at all? Does it like mention that?
I don't remember, so I'm gonna assume probably not.
I see. Okay, it's not super important, but so yeah. So I mean, we've got this all set up, and it's like Rudeus is preparing for a big fight with Orsted. He's got to kill Orsted, pretty much.
Yep. Zenoba and Cliff help him build the magic, the Mach 1, I think they call it.
Yeah, whatever you want to call it, magic armor. And it's like almost 3 meters tall. It's a.
I believe he calls it Gundam.
I don't remember I don't remember him saying that. I think he references it to other stuff too from like a game. But
he references so many things.
Yeah.
Which of his kids did he want to name after? We already talked about it.
Yeah,
right?
at some point when he's talking about Lucy, he's like, what would I name it? You know, if it's a boy, maybe Nero or Warachia, you know, that kind of thing.
I think when he gets the eye from Kirishaka too, he says like,
"Oh yeah,
will this eye let me see the lines of death?" Like,
yeah,
or something.
The Tsukihime and Melty Blood references.
Big Melty Blood fan, apparently.
That's so sick. I'm so happy about that. We're both big Melty Blood fans and Tsukihime fans, so very cool references to see.
Enjoyers. We'll get joined on here for a podcast. She goes crazy.
Yeah. Except she don't talk that much, but so yeah, I mean we've built up to the fight now. We got the preparation complete kind of thing. Nanahoshi helps summon Orsted pretty much because they have a device to communicate, etc. And
well, yeah, he like goes to her and literally begs for her help. Like, he does us.
Yeah, he does. He does us, and she's like, "Dude, stop, okay." Like, yeah.
I mean, he was fucking desperate. Like,
yeah. And you know, she definitely feels obligated because he has helped her so much by this point.
Yeah, it's like the first favor.
I mean, literally
from her, basically.
Yeah, literally the volume before this is saving her life, right? Like,
yeah.
So big deal. So I mean,
I think he asks Pergius for help? He's like, no, I'm not fighting Orsted.
Yeah. I'm like, hell no. Get my ass beat.
Oh, hell no.
He's also like, it's just not my problem. Like,
yeah.
Pergius does not intervene with people very much unless he has a really
Just
good reason
something
to.
I really enjoy about Mushoku Tensei is that you really do feel like a lot of people have their own agendas.
Right, yeah, exactly.
It's not just like, oh, well, I'll help the protagonist because they're the protagonist, you know?
Yeah, exactly. For sure.
So, it's fun.
Definitely. So, I mean, we're all set up for the fight now. Rudeus' plan is beat the shit out of him with big fuck-off magic after luring him somewhere. So, the fight starts. By the way, there's a really sick AMV of this. Definitely should watch by... oh my god, what is that guy's channel's name? Trying to remember. There's like two people who do Mushoku Tensei AMVs. The one guy who does it, he kind of just does like, I don't know, what do you call it? He kind of just does like plot summary with like images and fan art of other people kind of stuff, which is like, it's neat, but like, eh. But there's another guy that does really good AMVs that are all stuff he draws on his own kind of stuff. God, now that Rudeus and Orsted have fought actually in the anime, when I look up like Mushoku Tensei Rudeus versus Orsted AMV, it's just actually clips from the anime. Yeah. So I've got a. God, what?
I'm sure you'll probably just link it in the description.
Yeah, I'll link it. Either way, it's really, really well done. You know, big AMV. It's just all drawings, right? By the guy, set to cool music, stuff like that. Oh yeah, Junu is his name. I'll link it in the description. Junu. He's got one of the fight with Rudeus versus Orsted, and then of Orsted versus Eris that happens right after. So super cool. Highly recommend. You know, it's one of those where I'm like, God, I can't wait to see this animated in the anime.
Dude, it's gonna be so sick.
It'll be so sick. So, fight starts. Orsted gets lured in this building. There's a couple traps. There's like some minor poison things. Just anything to inconvenience him in any way. There's some poison. There's some stuff. There's like other minor traps, stuff like that. And then, the signal is there's a piece of paper with like Hitogami written on it that has like Nanahoshi's tracking thing under it to bring him to it. And once he lifts it up, like the box like fills with smoke because it's a magic tool or whatever. And that's really the signal to like that he's there, beat the shit out of him kind of thing.
Fucking nuke the tower.
Yeah, pretty much. So first he strikes the whole building with like a giant bolt of lightning kind of thing. He also like coats the floor in like oil so that he can't dodge as well kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
he did pretty well, all things considered.
Yeah, I mean, this is like really well done. Yeah. I mean, it's a really good fight. You know, it's not completely one-sided or anything. So he strikes him with lightning. He's like, it's not enough. I got to do more. Giant frost nova. And then, it's lightning, frost nova. I think there's some. Oh yeah. Then he drops the giant rock on him too. He like just makes a huge giant rock, slams it into it, and then he, the rock gets cut open, and he's like, okay, one more thing. He like visualizes basically an atomic bomb kind of thing with magic power. Drops on him. It levels like the whole area. This kind of thing. I mean, it's just he just fires 4 of the biggest possible spells he can conjure, and he's like, did I get him kind of deal? Because you got to have that funny cliche.
Yep. The red flag.
Yeah, the red flag for sure. And as that happens, Orsted gets up, like slices through everything kind of thing. And you're like, oh man, here he is. And he looked kind of beat up by this point, but like he definitely took some damage for sure. A significant amount of damage. And so Rudeus is like, okay, there's still a lot of smoke everywhere, all that kind of stuff. He has developed like a Gatling gun for his stone cannons using different magic tools.
Fucking sick.
Yeah, it's super sick. So he can just fire stone cannons super, super fast. It's funny when they're like developing the Gatling gun thing, because it's either Sylphie or Ariel introduces him to like a magic tool smith, and she's like, I mean, I can do it, but like it'll drain your power so fast, like you could just die or something. Like he's like, no, it's fine. She's like, I mean, I guess, dude. He's like, dude, I can fire like 20,000 stone cannons in a day. Like, He's got plenty of
Yeah.
mana. He's got a lot of mana. So he's like, once he recognizes Orsted and Smoke, he starts like firing at him, all this kind of stuff. And Orsted's dodging, but like every once in a while he's getting like, just nicked with it a little bit, and it does some damage. And he's like, yes, this is like working. He's just like trying to keep his space, keeping it out of the range where he can not like get melee attacks in, kind of thing. And it looks like it's working pretty well. He gets a good chunk of damage onto him. And then Orsted gets in. He hits him in the chest, and he takes a big blow, but the magic armor survives it. And Rudeus is like, okay, I'll like counterattack. And he like goes in for a shield slam kind of thing, bashes him with the shield, and hits him with the sword at the end that like, I think it's the sword he gets from Paul, where it's like the better the defense is.
Defense one. Yeah.
The better the defense, the higher attack it does. And he sends Orsted like flying away into a tree or something, like beats the shit out of him for a second. And it's like, wow, this is gonna work. He can die actually. And then Orsted is like, no other choice, huh? And it's like, oh fuck.
He pulls out the sword.
Yeah, he pulls out the sword. Yeah. If there's anything I know, it's when a menacing man pulls out a katana, it gets a lot worse. I mean,
you are not winning.
Yeah, it's a big Virgil vibes, the now I'm motivated. Like,
just every time I think of Virgil, I think of that one clip from Mugen.
What?
He's like, "Is that all you got?" And there's like a giant Jack Frost that just fucking winds up a punch and socks him in the head.
Yeah, I remember that. Every time I think of Virgil, I just think of Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, where he's just like a really, really broken like anchor character, pretty much.
Virgil's been broken in like every Marvel versus Capcom game he's been in.
That's the only one I think, but
wasn't he? I thought he was in 3 too.
That is 3.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought you said I was thinking Ultimate. Infinite. Yeah,
Ultimate is like the final version of 3. But
was he not in Infinite?
I know Dante is. I don't think Virgil is.
Oh, interesting.
Which is cringe, but Infinite's kind of cringe. So,
stupid.
But yeah, no, you're right. The joke definitely is that like Virgil is broken in like everything he's in, because he only becomes a playable character in like the final editions of every Devil May Cry game that he's in.
Yeah, I've played 3 and 4.
Right. Yeah.
You unlock him as like a bonus character after beating it pretty much.
Yeah, he's completely broken in all of them, and in 5 too. I mean, I remember when he came out in 5, like much later after the game came out. And everybody, like, nonstop just were tweeting about, like, oh my god, how does he beat everyone this easily? That kind of stuff. So, yeah, that's what I think of when I see man with a katana.
They got the same hair, too. That's all I'm saying.
A little bit. Yeah, so pulls out the katana. It's like a god sword kind of thing. It's really powerful. Uses a lot of mana, though, to summon. So it's a big deal. It's we don't know why at this point, but, it's kind of like, Orsted. Using mana is a big deal. He tries to fight not seriously if he can, which we will learn why in a couple volumes.
Yeah, I think literally next volume. So
it's I think it's volume 18.
Is it? Okay.
So the fight continues. Orsted, though, now at this point his like physique is just like way through the roof. I mean, he just one sword slash, bam, there goes a whole arm of the magic armor, and it gets to the point where it's like Rudeus has to like eject mid fight. And he's used pretty much all of his mana at this point. And it looks like he's pretty much lost entirely at this point. He's done a lot of damage to him. I mean, he's got blood streaming down his head. He's, gotten beat up a lot, forced to use the magic sword kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then Orsted kind of questions him at this point. He's like, oh, so it was you, Rudeus. Like, I heard you were living peacefully. Why would you come after my life? And he's like, well, Hyogami said. He's like, oh, so you were an apostle. Die. But, Orsted, I think Orsted would be having a lot better time beating Hirogami if he just knew how to use his words at all, or like had any.
He just can't, bro. He knows talking to people's like useless most of the time, anyway.
Yeah, so. It's very true, especially in this world. But like, this is a time where it's just like he goes to kill him after he says Hirogami said ... Like, and it's like, dude, hear him out. And he only stops when he's like, Hirogami said my descendants would help you kill him, so I had to kill you. And he's like, oh, wait, shit, really? Kind of thing. And they talk it out a bit. And he's like, begging for his life at this point. He's just, come on, please don't kill me. I've never been so happy before. It's a really emotional moment where he's like, I've never been so happy. Please don't kill me, please, etc., etc. And he's like, I can't do that. And goes to kill him. As he does, Rudeus, like, tries to activate magic kind of stuff, and Orsted has to like kick him away before it happens, all that kind of thing. And at this point, like, Rudeus is now to where he's used up all of his mana. Like, he is done. And Orsted's like, even if you have Lapis Factor and all this mana, like, you will run out eventually if you keep using big spells like that. And right as she goes to kill Rudeus, bam, Eris shows up. And she's like, I kept you waiting kind of thing.
Kept you waiting, huh?
Yeah. Super, super cool moment. And then I like in going into the next chapter where it's like explaining a tiny bit why Eris is there at this time.
Yeah, she already arrived at the house.
Yeah, she already arrived at the house.
Hey, yo, where Rudeus? Oh, he's just fighting Orsted. Oh.
Yeah, and she's like, are you guys dumb? Why didn't you go help him? And they're like, he told us we would be a burden, which, to be fair, Sophie and Roxy would definitely be a burden in this fight. I mean, they're nowhere near strong enough. Like, they're both, like, Saint King ranked, but not in terms of combat ability, really.
Yeah. The ranks really do not reflect combat most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, for magicians, it's literally just like, oh, you can do the cloud spell, you're a king rank. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's not quite the same. For Sophie, it's like I would say Sophie is better in combat than Roxy, even though Roxy was an adventurer. Because, Sophie served as a guard for a long time and had to fight a lot of assassins and stuff. But even she, like, pales in comparison to base level Rudeus, so.
Yeah.
But, I really like this as a character moment because when Eris, like, goes, she's like, the last thing Sophie says is like, he said we would be a burden in the fight. And Eris is kind of like, she's like remembering, yeah, I trained so I wouldn't be a burden. And she kind of has like a moment where she's like, kind of feels like a bit sad, but then she's like, kind of feels a little bit superior to them because she's like, I won't be a burden. Like, I am good enough kind of thing. I was like, yeah, fuck yeah. That's so sick. So that was a really cool moment. She goes to fight Orsted, and they have some exchanges. Some really good exchanges. We get like a flashback to her and Golfarion kind of planning out the battle strategy, right? And it's like, they're like, I don't know how, but he is God ranked in water god style. If you start the fight, his counterattack will 100% kill you. No, but like,
I can say 100%, 1000%.
Yeah, you will die. Like, and she's already bad against the water god style. She's trained to be not as bad against it, but like, dude, he's like, no matter what, his counterattack will kill you. You will die. And so basically, the plan is just she will buy time. So she's sitting there buying time, and Orsted knows about Eris and all this kind of stuff. We don't know quite how yet, but he's like, wow, Eris is not attacking first. That's interesting kind of thing. And she's like, I'll wait for Rudeus to get healed and we'll attack together. And he's like, Eris Boreas Grey Rat will wait for her allies to fight. Okay, that is uncharacteristic. Which I thought was really funny. And so he's like, well, okay, I'll start it. And he goes to make a sword of light kind of thing. But now he's actually got a sword instead of just using his bare hands to make a sword of light. I mean, that's... God, I mean, can you even fathom that he can make a sword of light with his bare hands? Like...
It's fucking insane.
He is so powerful.
He's just a strong boy.
Yeah, and so she's like, God, now I have to deal with it, but it's actually from his sword. Like, Rudeus pushed him this far kind of thing. And, this is where we get some of the mind games with the sword of light. Like, there's a reversal technique that, since she has practiced well enough, she could probably do against even Orsted. But the deal is, it's kind of a guessing game because you have to get the idea of like which hand and which direction it's coming from, right? To do the reversal properly, because you have to get like the proper angle to like bisect it when the strike comes through. Otherwise, you will just get fucking chopped in half. Very, very difficult technique. But luckily, because Orsted's been beaten up so badly, he's pretty much only going to use the one hand to strike, and it's he makes it very obvious which angle he's coming from below. So she perfectly reversals it and cuts off his hand entirely. But when that happens, he catches it and flings his body weight around and just kicks her across the area. And that's tough. That's tough. He doesn't even care.
Unwinnable matchup, some may say.
Yeah, I would say. Even this, she's like, yeah, I was kind of expecting like that much, even if it did go well, but like, Jesus. And the fight goes a little bit longer. She's mostly trying to buy time for Rudeus to get healed. But like they don't really have an end game plan because like even if Rudeus gets healed, he can't use any more magic, right? Like, and she's like, well, I'll buy time for them to escape, and he's like, okay, Ghislaine, go escape with them, and she's like, no, I protect you no matter what kind of deal, and so Eris buys some time with like she learned a North God trick from Auber while he was there, of like
North God trick,
yeah, North God chemical warfare.
Oh, sand kick.
Yeah, pocket sand. Anti North God technique.
Pass down.
I mean, the North God is so sick, bro. I love it so much. But she picked up a trick of him, like basically throwing the sword perfectly, kind of thing, and like pretending to use dual handed and all that kind of stuff. Which she's not very effective at it in a fight, and it's not good enough to damage Orsted. But it's something so new that Orsted, given that he always analyzes everything and will be really cautious in these situations, she gets to buy more time from it because he's like trying to figure out what she's even trying to do, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it doesn't work very well, and she kind of gets beat up for it, but it buys some time. But at the end, Orsted's like, "You've come this far, huh? But it's not enough," kind of thing. And she's like, "Ugh." And so it gets to the point where Orsted's like, "Okay, I can wipe them all at this point," kind of thing. And they're like trying to figure out whether or not Rudeus should escape at this exact moment, kind of thing. And Orsted kind of realizes everything that has happened at this point, and Orsted is like, "Okay, Rudeus, you got two options. Either, you've been following the human god, you've been following Hidegami, and if you do that, I will kill you right here. I'll kill everyone here. I will go into the town and kidnap your children after that, because even though I don't believe what Hidegami says, there's a possibility it's true." That kind of thing. He's like, "No matter what, I will find you. You cannot escape. It is not possible. I'm way too strong." And it's like, yeah, he's definitely right. I mean, he can just massacre everyone here at this point, right? Like,
not bluffing. We know that.
Yeah, it has become an unwinnable fight, and yeah, he's like, even if I have to kill everyone in the city, and it's like, yeah, I mean, he can do it. Who the fuck's gonna stop him?
Yeah.
So he's like, so you can do that, or betray Hidegami, join me. And he's like, whoa. It's like, I mean, if you've been working unwillingly for Hidegami, like you might have implied, then this should be a good deal for you. We can join together, etc. And Rudeus is like, this is not a bad idea. Not a bad, because, he has been unwillingly working with Hidegami. He's not Hidegami's apostle who's been brainwashed, kind of thing. He doesn't like Hidegami very much. And he's immune to Orsted's curse, so he can actually, like, negotiate with Orsted here. He's not just like, "Oh, no way, I'll never trust you, Orsted." So he's like, walks up to him. He's like, "Can I like guarantee that my family is protected?" He's like, "It's not 100%. No, it can't be. But I can like make it so Hidegami can't see you guys, etc. And we can do we can, with a pretty high degree of protection, make it possible," kind of thing. And he's like, they talk it out for a bit, and eventually they come to a conclusion. Yeah, okay, I'll join you, Orsted. And the fight ends. Nobody has to die, kind of thing. I don't know. This is like high moment volume for sure. I mean, this is like one of the high points of the entire series by far. Definitely when I was reading this for the first time, about halfway-ish through this fight, I'm like, as you start realizing that he can't win, you're like, the only way this could probably satisfyingly end is if he joins up with Orsted.
Yeah.
And it's like, I wanted him to join with Orsted because it's like, some of the characters, like, immediately Sophie and Roxy and them are like, "No, don't trust him. What the fuck? What are you, stupid? He's obviously lying to you," kind of thing. Which,
yeah, I mean, they're all dispositioned to hate Orsted just because of the curse.
Yeah,
so.
Curse, and also Reese is, like, almost dead, kind of thing. Like, not even thinking, like, why would he lie here? Like, he could just kill you all.
Yeah, but it's like he has nothing. Well, I wouldn't say nothing to gain from, like, tricking him, but it's just like...
very little.
Yeah.
So,
he's fine on his own. He doesn't need him.
Yeah, definitely. Because he could just, kill him, kidnap his children. I mean, easy.
The old 1-2.
Yeah. So, yeah, like, halfway at this point, I was like, yeah, definitely gotta join up with him. And, we hate Hidegami by this point. I fucking despise Hidegami.
All my homies hate him.
All my homies hate Hidegami. So it's like, yeah, we should beat the shit out of him. So, satisfying conclusion. I don't know. Yeah. Is that about how you felt?
Orsted is the GOAT.
Yeah. Is that?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've always liked him.
Right.
So.
Yeah. I mean,
very happy.
He's such an interesting character already. Even as early as Turning Point 2, right? I thought his fight was super interesting because, you know, it's like so analytical. He's such a interesting, like, the way he comes at everything is like, even for a person who is really strong, he's like, you did this instead of this. Why is that? What does that say? That kind of thing. He's just trying to learn literally everything.
Yeah. Go watch Pokecool's How Orsted Changes Everything in Mushoku Tensei video.
Yeah, that's a good video. I'm still so sad about the views on that one because...
You got murked by YouTube.
I got murked by for those who don't know, I uploaded that... This is the third time I've uploaded that video. It shouldn't get taken down ever again, probably. But the first time I uploaded it was on the day that episode came out. And I advertised it in a couple places, and it had 200 views, like, within hours. Partially because it was topical, partially because it was advertised. I did post it on 4chan, which is... I was like...
That was a dubious move.
Yeah, I was like... I'm sure people really hate self-advertising on 4chan. I mean, pretty much all I've seen on 4chan is, like, very occasionally someone will post a video by some other YouTuber, and they'll be like, oh my god, get your e-celeb bullshit out of here, that kind of thing. It's like, yeah.
You never know. But it's a mixed bag.
I surprisingly got, like, I think one person said something mean about me posting my own video, and the rest of them were, like, just replying to it earnestly. Say? They were just like, 66 views, why are you posting your own shit here? That kind of thing. I was like, I don't care. Like,
where else am I going to post it?
But it got taken down the first time, and I was like, fuck. 200 views in the first day is so good for me. Like, I do not get that many views on anything, pretty much. And so I edited out the clip that it copyrighted and sent it again. It got like 200 views again, and I was like, yes. Okay, cool. Not that big a deal. Got copyrighted again. I was so sad. It got copyrighted again. I edited it again. But by this point, it had been like 2-3 days. The hype had died down. I wasn't going to post it anywhere again. Like, I already posted it once or so to 4chan. I actually posted it twice to 4chan because I posted it the first time, and then very shortly after it got taken down. And I wouldn't have posted it again, but someone replied to me, and they said, hey, the video was really, really good. Where did the video go? And I was like, damn, bro. So I, like, uploaded it again. I was like, yeah, it got taken down. Here's the new link. Sorry about that. But it got taken down again, etc.
And then it got taken down again.
Unlucky. I mean, that's unlucky.
YouTube sucks.
Yeah.
They copyrighted both my damn tennis videos too, assholes. Like 2 years after I put them up.
That's so
I was like,
stupid. Ugh. Yeah.
So I had to like change all my fucking music that I used for the intro, which is like synced to it.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm so pissed.
That's so lame. Yeah. YouTube copyright sucks. I mean, like, I'm using clips of Mushoku Tensei, right? But I'm talking over it. It's a review, basically. Like, it's transformative content, 100%. I edit all the clips to be 10 seconds or under, so they don't get copyright claimed. I put them in different orders and stuff. Like, it's just bad RNG. But, yeah. Orsted, super interesting character. This is a really good section. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, then we got Volume 17, which is, you know, getting to work with Orsted, kind of learning about what they're going to do. And, I don't know, I'm kind of blanking on what most of 17 is about.
Oh, yeah, okay, because 16 is all the fight. So, well, yeah, I mean, he takes Ariston as another wife, like, first.
Yep.
he summons, Leo, is that what they call him?
Yeah, Leo, the holy magic beast or whatever from...
Because he's going to be, like, leaving the house law with Orsted, so he's like, I want, like, a sacred guardian to protect the house.
Yeah.
And he summons the bucket dog. I love him.
Yeah. Well, first he summons Arumamfi on accident. Remember that?
He's like, oh, shit. Orsted's going to be pissed.
Or Perugius, yeah.
Perugius.
Yeah, because he summons Arumamfi, and first Arumamfi's like super upset because he's like, my bond was like this, my vow was like this, interchangeable, like that kind of thing. He's like to be ripped away from, like, I mean, because all of Perugius' servants are like eternally loyal kind of people, kind of thing. He's like, yeah, I've been stripped away, like, and he's like, oh my god, this was not intentional. That's my bad, bro. That's my bad.
I'm sorry.
Because he just. You know, he's like, they're just like, you know, just envision a reliable servant to summon, and by accident, he kind of ends up envisioning like Perugius's servants, because they're super loyal and good and strong.
Yeah.
And then the next time he does it, he summons Leo, the Holy Sacred Beast, which he's like, uh-oh, they're not going to like this one. Because he got thrown in jail before for like touching him, basically. So he's like, that's not good. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
So they go there and they explain everything. And Leo talks to them because Leo can talk to the beast people. And apparently he's like, Rudeus's kid with Roxy is going to be like, I forget what they call it again. Like the savior of mankind. Yeah. The person fated to like fight Lapis kind of thing. Defeat Lapis, save the world kind of deal. And that's like...
Wasn't there... I don't know if it was later or not, where Perugius talks about the possibility of one of his children being Lapis.
Different. Yeah, this...
And he's like, yeah, I'll have to kill your kid if that happens. I hope you know that.
Yeah. That's tough. That's tough. Yeah, that's when Lucy has... Not Lucy, Sylphie has the second kid.
Okay,
that's when Sighart is born. Ultimate Chad among Chads, Sighart. He's so raw.
The alpha male.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, Sighart is so sick. Read Jobless Oblige. It's so good. But so yeah. So the whole purpose of the Sacred Beast is like to protect the savior of mankind on their journey kind of thing. And it's like, well, I mean, I guess you can stay with them then. You got it. So they give him permission, all that kind of stuff. And it's funny because, Rudeus is kind of like, I don't know, dude, this doesn't seem like very good protection. He's just a dog. Like, I don't know, dude.
He doesn't actually ever fight anything, does he?
He does in Redundancy a little bit.
Okay.
But,
is he, like, actually strong?
Well, yeah, because Rudeus is like, he doesn't seem very strong, but Orsted's like, no, he's strong. He's got it, man. I mean, he's got it.
He's got it.
Yeah, he's like, he has a really strong fate. He's just like, Orsted's like, there's 0% chance, like, an assassin or something kills your family now while you're gone. Like, so it's like, whew, thank God. Very good, very good. So, yeah, that all gets taken care of. And then they get ready to...
They have,
Go ahead.
Don't they have 2 pets now?
Yeah, they've got...
The armadillo,
armadillo.
Like, that came from when they went to the labyrinth thing, maybe?
Yep, they got the armadillo. Yeah, that's when it's from.
And then they got that fucking plant guy,
the
too.
tree out from Magic Continent or whatever. He kind of just chills at the
gates. The whole family.
He helps de-weed the garden. That's pretty cool.
I like the armadillo. He's cute.
Yeah, he's a good boy.
Jiro, I think his name is.
Yeah, he's a good boy. But yeah, they get ready to leave for Asura to help Ariel. Because Orsted's like, yeah, that's your mission. It's important that she wins. And, we learned that, like, the fate is that Ariel is supposed to win in the timelines, like, by default, if no one interferes. That's what should happen.
Yeah.
That's like...
And he has his, like, first meeting with Orsted, too, where he finds out that Orsted is wearing a ring that basically makes him, like, immune to Hitogami's prying.
Yeah, exactly.
And Eris goes with and all that.
Yeah, I'm trying to find...
And he also talks about there being many apostles, and Luke is, like, could be one of them. It's also a big thing.
Because in the diary timeline, Luke was an apostle. Yeah. And also Orsted seems to, like, know that Luke has high potential to be apostle. And basically by this point, we have to treat as an assumption that maximum of, like, 3 or 4 people can be apostles. And that's pretty much what...
It's kind of a fun way to do it. It's like a big...
Yeah.
Subterfuge type thing.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like, there are some people who will never be apostles, and there are some people who almost always are apostles kind of thing. And Orsted has a pretty good feel for it at this point.
Yeah.
Luke, someone who very likely can be an apostle. So, end of 17 is getting ready to leave for Asura to go help Ariel. All of 18 is pretty much this. This arc, I haven't read it in a while, so I'm not going to go super huge detail, but I really like this arc. I think this is like a perfect, like, self-contained, like, fight build-up
really
kind
cool.
of stuff. I mean, it's just really well done.
The whole, like, party where everything's being revealed is so sick.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
With all the thing that happened.
That scene is so sick. I like when they're, like, on the path, like, they have to take the Red Dragon's upper jaw, all that stuff, and they have to deal with, like, assassination attempts the whole way. They have to fight Auber, the North Emperor Auber, and, Rudeus is, like, being really smart about it. Like, he's, like, being really prepared because he's, like, Auber's basically a fucking ninja. So He can climb up walls. He can hide.
He's the true North God style user, whereas he just does fucking anything.
Yeah, he does anything. Hiding in the bushes, North God style technique. Climb up the wall.
Sneak up behind you, or North God style.
Yeah, smoke bombs, which he literally has. North God style technique, baby. Passed in my family for generations. Yeah. So, they have a fight with Auber and some other pretty strong entourage pretty early on their way there, and really successfully defends, and he gets the jump on Auber by guessing his hiding spot and shooting at him pretty much.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of a guy whose ability is that he glows.
Yeah, that guy's, and he shines so bright it blinds him, and it makes it hard for Ghislaine, right, to fight him. Yeah. All
right, just throw mud at him.
Yeah, Rudeus just fucks his stuff up, and he just dies. Okay, that guy's really king ranked. Okay, yep. Fucking gimmicks. Yeah, there's a bunch of...
That's North God stuff.
Yeah, it's fucking North God stuff. There's a lot of gimmicks in king ranked people. But, yeah, so they successfully defend. It's really scary, though. It's a good fight, though. I really like that Rudeus is using his brain super hard. And, he's really, really scared and worried about it. That's something that always characterizes Rudeus, is that he's not all right, I'm paying attention. He's oh, God, if I don't do this right, he'd go and kill us all.
Oh, shit, man.
Yeah, so, pretty fun. They get to the Imperial City. There's a lot of politics that happen. Orsted's plan is basically Tristina, or Triss, who is in the Assassin's Guild, who does the smuggling and stuff like that. Who is also mentioned in the diary, by the way, as someone that helps out Rudeus for a while, because once they get banned from Milition, they're also banned from Ashura, so to get into there, he has to have them smuggle him in and stuff. Orsted is Triss, this girl who is in the Assassin's Guild. She's actually royalty's daughter, but through a uprising kind of deal, or a family subterfuge thing, Darius, stupid evil fat guy, who's a upper level nobility who is supporting the first prince. Darius basically fucked up their whole family and took her as a concubine kind of thing, kidnapped her, made her a slave kind of thing, and then eventually when she escapes or gets out or whatever, she doesn't really understand anything and has to be an Assassin's Guild person pretty much. So Orsted's plan is bring her back, prove she's high nobility and that they did this, and that'll weaken the first prince and his squad a lot, pretty much. It'll ruin their reputation in the nobility, kind of stuff like that, which it's a big deal, right? It's pretty difficult. Basically this all culminates in the dining room where everyone's showing up and all that kind of stuff.
It's literally just well, how about this? Well, how about this? Yeah. Well, how about this?
And it's shit, they're not, it might be hard to actually prove them right kind of thing, but they eventually do have the means by which to prove that she is who they say she is, and that Darius did in fact do it, so they lose a lot of face. And it's oh man, actually maybe Ariel should be the princess, or the queen, and all that kind of stuff. The tides kind of sway and all that kind of stuff. And then right when everything's kind of climaxing, Perugius shows up and announces his support for Ariel. Kind of, just kind of shits on everybody. He's yeah, he's the big deal. He shows up and it's huge. They're oh my god, it's Perugius. No way. And Perugius is yep, I support her. Blah, blah, blah. I don't really remember it particularly well.
Dude, he literally makes the most fucking boss-ass bitch
Yeah, because, to him...
He just walks in and sits down. He doesn't even do anything.
Yeah, because to him, all this Asura's kingdom stuff, stupid, doesn't matter. All he cares about is Laplace's war. This is just, a bunch of idiots who think they're important, who he could kill at any point,
Yeah, he gives, I'm forgetting her name. Her backing.
Ariel.
Ariel, yeah.
Which...
So that's, why he's there. But...
Yeah, which I think this is in...
It was the volume before, I think. Yeah.
And Ariel has a hard time, trying to answer, I forget what I think he asked something.
It's what a king should be,
Yeah, what a king should be kind of thing. And Ariel can't give a very good answer. I think he even asked Rudeus beforehand, and he's dude, even Rudeus gave a way better answer kind of deal. So it's she's not doing a good job. And they talk about how if her original guard, Derek Redbat, were alive, the one who died protecting her when Sylphie teleported in, right? if he were alive, he would actually have helped her solve this issue. Like, he would have given her the right answer, pretty much. Or made her realize what the right answer was. But instead, she has to do some, like, self-searching with Rudeus and a bunch of other people to realize what the right answer is that, or a good enough answer is that will have Prugus support her, kind of deal. So, works out. Prugus gives her support. And it's like, holy, big deal. And how does the rest of the diner scene go down? Basically, everything's going down, and Rada shows up, right? And the water god Rada, she kind of drops out of the middle of nowhere when everything starts to get really tense, and she's basically holds everyone hostage. She's a master water god user, so she's not going to strike first, but the instant anyone moves, she's ready to assassinate Ariel and put everything to a close. And we find out this is through Hitogami's doing. Hitogami has manipulated her because she owes a debt of gratitude to Darius for Darius like accidentally saved her or something like that, and she's never gotten to repay him, even though he doesn't care at all and he's just a piece of garbage pretty much. But she's like
just using her.
Yeah, she's like, I still have to repay him, kind of thing. And Hitogami's like, I've got a great way for you to repay him. Kill Ariel, pretty much. And she's like, finally I get to repay this debt that I like have been holding within me for the last like a million years, right? So so she drops in, and everyone's like, oh my god, what do we do? Like, they're just held hostage. They have to be completely still, or the instant they do something, she counterattacks, kills them all, right? I mean, she's water god. She's old. She's like senile almost, but like she's a water god. She's way too powerful.
Yeah, I mean, she kills some of, well, it doesn't kill, but she destroys some of Brigus's fucking subordinates. Yep. That's how you know how powerful she is.
And they're all like king ranked ish. So
yeah,
she is very strong. But this is where, this is where Orsted is prepared. Orsted knows this is gonna happen, comes in, and we get this, this scene in our head of like, he's just walking forward at her barehanded, and she's just like, attack, and you just deflect, walking towards her, and just
fucking donuts her.
Just gets point blank, fucking stabs her through the chest, and she dies, and just walks away. She's like, bye, see you later.
Barges in, kills water god, doesn't elaborate.
Refuses to elaborate, leaves, and it's like, wow, okay, it's it's a good. Oh no, here's the one unexpected thing that could make everything go wrong. This is the one thing Orsted's been waiting for, baby. That's all. He knows what he's got to do. And it just shows the level of preparation. At this point, we're just like, wow, how is he so well prepared? Which we will learn very, very soon. But the problem is, right as it looks like everything's about to resolve, we get some confirmation that Luke is in fact an apostle, right? And he super distrusts Rudeus at this point, right? And so what does Luke exactly do to hold everything up? He takes someone hostage, right?
Oh, it's Ariel.
He takes Ariel hostage. I'm trying to find it in the text. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Well, I think before that happens even is when Ghislaine, Eris, and Rudeus chase down Darius and Aber.
I think.
And kill both of them in the hallway.
I thought it was after.
Yeah, no, that's before.
Okay, before.
Because then when he comes back, he's like, hey, we did it. And then like, Luke, what the fuck are you doing?
Right, okay.
Yeah. So he's like, Darius is, this one kind of like fucks with Rudeus because this is like the first person he pretty much directly kills, even though he still doesn't really directly kill him.
Right, yeah.
Because he uses the stone thing to like break glass in his face and like blind him.
Right, yeah.
And I think Eris is the one who actually kills him, or Ghislaine, either way. But because the other one kills Aber.
Yeah, which I like that fight a lot because it's a lot about like, Rudeus is a powerhouse in the back, but Aber like knowing that comes for him kind of thing, and it's about Rudeus just trying to survive basically what is enough attacks to get everyone else to win their fights and help him kind of deal.
Yep.
So, and
because then they kill all of them, and then he comes back, and Luke's just like holding her hostage because, well, I think the main reason he did it is because he didn't want his dad to be killed.
Right. Yeah. I forgot.
I forget his name.
Palamon.
Yeah, Palamon. Who's like, he's like a bad guy, but he's also really not like a bad guy.
Yeah, he's just kind of noble
he's just
guy
like,
who does
kind of a bitch. He just does like
he
what
just
he has to
betrays
do.
whatever he has to do to benefit him the most.
Yeah. So, and then he just he holds her hostage, and Ariel's like, "What the fuck are you doing? Why are you doing this?" It's like, I don't trust Rudeus.
Yeah.
Then eventually she talks him down, and he thinks he's like gonna kill her, and then she does it, and everything's fine pretty much. So
yeah, I mean it's crazy. Yeah, before
and he betrays Hitogami basically as well. I think he stops listening to him after that point. So.
Yeah, they realize Rudeus is in fact trustworthy. I mean, yeah. This whole work in general, all of Mushoku Tensei goes a long ways in painting very believable suspicions of people, which the only reason we don't agree with them ever is because we know, yeah, Rudeus actually does have no bad intent, pretty much. Like, he's not trying to be like...
Well, yeah, like even Rudeus himself talks about like how suspicious he would look to Luke, so he's like not surprised.
Right. Yeah, so it's pretty crazy. But yeah, that works. And then very next chapter, it's called Truth of Orsted and 10 Days in the Capital. We finally learn about Orsted. He, Rudeus is like, we're thinking a little bit about how like Orsted doesn't do, like, he doesn't just come in and solo everybody, that kind of stuff. He's like, he's like, yeah, I have to preserve my mana. My mana recovers really slowly. I think we knew this already at this point, but
yeah,
Rudeus just like assumes it's like has something to do with not being able to be seen by Hitogami. And he's like, well, I gave you a bracelet that does the same thing. Like, do you really think it takes up that much mana? He's like, I mean, I guess not now that you mention it. He's like, yeah, the reason I have to preserve my mana and it recovers really slowly is because when I die, I have a thing set on me that I reincarnate to my previous life. I death by rebirth. It's ReZero, baby.
Yeah, it's ReZero.
Yeah, so he
I know a lot about that one.
Yeah, Justin knows a lot about that one. ReZero enjoyer.
I am.
So yeah, we learned when Orsted dies, he goes back to the beginning of his life and has to play it out. If he doesn't kill Hitogami by a certain point, or if he dies, he goes back until he is successful. And he has not been successful yet.
He's basically thousands of years old mentally. So.
Rudeus asks, okay, how many loops in are you? Because, the loop is like roughly like 200 years maximum total length, I want to say it is. Maybe 100 to 200.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, how many loops have you done? He's like, I stopped counting after 100. So, very, very large amount.
Fucking insane to think about.
Yeah, so basically lived 10,000 years plus at this point. Which, now it's like, okay, this is why Orsted knows so much and he's, like, understands so much about, like, fate. Like, he knows in every other timeline, Eris marries Luke, right? Or in every other timeline, Rudeus does not exist. And all this kind of stuff. So, it's a big revelation that finally makes sense why Orsted knows everything. Like, why, when he first encounters the Dead End Party, he's like, oh, it's Richard Spurdia. And Richard's like, I do not know who you are. Why? How do you know that? Etc. So now it makes sense. And so we learn, the reason Orsted's so frivolous, or not unfrivolous, whatever you want to say, with his mana usage is that it recovers really, 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 really slowly so that he can reincarnate every time he fails. Or be reborn, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, big deal. So now we have an idea of, like, the game plan. His game plan is, change all these events that Hitogami wants to happen to ones that are favorable for defeating Laplas, basically, when he reincarnates, with the least amount of effort possible, least amount of mana usage, and, like, most things that he can have, so that he can have all the 5 dragon treasures, and then when he does, have enough mana to go defeat Hitogami. Okay, makes sense. So, now we understand why he doesn't just bust out the sword every time he has a fight.
Right, yeah. I mean, you can't just blitz everyone. Right.
But then also it's why Rudeus is so important, because Rudeus has a ton of mana and is really powerful, but his comes back really quickly. But then we're also like, we also get the feeling that this timeline is at a little bit of a disadvantage, because even though Orsted has like Rudeus and Rudeus's descendants to work with, Rudeus has put him at a mana deficit because he used a lot of mana fighting Rudeus in something that normally does not happen.
Yeah.
And mind you, Orsted has failed every other loop up to this point. So, this is normally a part where he would be like, I'm down very bad. This is maybe not winnable. So, yeah. So, yeah, this is a really good section. I mean, there's just a lot of really well-written fights in this section I really enjoy.
Yeah. A lot of cool like political stuff.
Yep, definitely. I mean, soon we'll have there's another political kind of thing with the Snowball War arc.
Yep.
We're already at pretty far time here, so I don't think we'll probably cover
Yeah, I was thinking we'll probably do volume 19 and then stop.
Yeah. What is volume 19?
Because that's like another 6 chapters, which we've been doing.
Slice of life type stuff, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
What is Farewells and Sophie's Change? Trying to remember. Yeah.
I mean, Sophie either is pregnant there, or it's because she wants like to fight more or something. I don't know.
Let's see. Yeah, I'm trying to look at it real quick.
I don't remember exactly.
Yeah, I don't
but
know. I guess it's just like partially.
I don't think it's a big deal.
There's a bit about like in here where she's like, you're so loyal to Ariel that you were like willing to take her hostage, kind of thing, because she thought it was in her benefit, basically.
Yeah.
But, yeah. I mean, a lot of stuff happening in this section. This is a really good section. So, 19 is like a bunch of like back to that like slice of life kind of stuff. Now that we've had a lot of stuff happen in the last couple volumes.
Yeah.
Like there's the stuff with like dried meat murder incident and they're in the Doridia village again.
I think this is when the Mach 2 is being developed as well. The armor.
Oh yeah, like a smaller version of it.
Yeah, the portable one,
which is like basically the size of his body and just armor, but not as good, but uses up little enough mana that he can just wear it constantly, kind of thing.
And can actually like move it around places. Yeah.
So raises Rudeus' base power a lot, to where he's like roughly like King Emperor ranked probably in this.
Yeah.
So yeah, big deal. We get Aisha starting up a business, the Mercenary Corp, right?
Return of Rhaenyra, who was a slave.
Yeah, because she's just too stupid to make a living on her own. So she becomes basically an indentured servant for them.
Yep.
What we got? Norn is what is entrance ceremony talking about? I don't know.
Doesn't
matter. What else happens here? Yeah, so we got they go back to Doria village for a little bit, and Persona is in jail for like stealing meat. And she's like, I'm innocent. So we spend a bit like a fun chapter like we're just going around trying to get the details of what happened and everything. And eventually he comes to the conclusion, she's like, no, yeah, she did it. And she's like, okay, I did it, but like, come on. Like,
I was hungry.
Yeah, basically they have to have someone on guard for the meat during the rainy season, that kind of stuff, because it's really important to save it up for the rainy season where they can't go out as easily, all that. And she ate a bunch of it, and that's a big deal.
Yep.
And you go to jail for that. But yeah, she's an idiot. Those two are like just hopeless.
They're pretty funny characters.
They're funny though. I agree.
Yeah. I mean, it's a pretty like it's a nice change of pace after the Ashura arc once again.
Right. Yeah.
Because then after that arc, it's just like bang, 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 bang till the end of the series.
Yeah, pretty much. There's not a lot of free time after this one.
Because you get more of like the three of them married life too.
Yep.
So
yep.
With his third wife.
Very nice, fun times. I mean, I'm trying to think what else happens in this section. Any other good moments?
I mean, I talked about it, I think, last time. The drama between Aisha and Rhaenyra is pretty good, because it's like, she's like actually kind of fucking their family up.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's tough.
And then he starts a Yakuza, so that's pretty fun.
Yep. Start the Riddle Mercenary Corps, which become very important, because it's basically like, it's not an idea that people have had before, but it's basically a private military for them. That is based on just like doing shit around town and that kind of stuff. And Aisha is like the perfect person to have run it. You know, this like, there's always this feeling of Aisha where it's like, you know, she's really smart, way smarter than Norn, and she's good at a lot of things. But unlike Norn, she doesn't go to school. And while Norn gets to like live a pretty normal and good life and like learn a lot of things, make a lot of friends, Aisha kind of just stays at home and is a maid. And so for a long time, you're kind of like, this is kind of unfulfilling. Like, I kind of want better for her. You know what I mean? And then chapter or volume 19 happens. It's like, now she makes a business. She meets a bunch of people through that, and she spends her time like working with the business and stuff, which is an actually important job and cool. So it's nice development.
Yep.
Good stuff all around. Yeah, it's a fun time. And then leads up to, at the end of the volume, we're dealing with the Zenoba arc, where Zenoba basically gets information that his kingdom the kingdom of Shirone there's been a coup d'etat, and it's been overthrown by Pax, who has killed like his entire family pretty much, all his brothers and father or whatever, and he is now like running the kingdom, and he's summoned Zenoba back because they gotta fight a war pretty much.
Yep.
And now we're dealing with that in the future, so that'll be where we start next time.
I think so.
Yep. So I don't know. Any thoughts on this whole section? Any details we didn't cover?
I don't know. I would just probably like from all the volumes, I'd say this was close to probably my favorite section.
Yeah.
So.
I mean,
it's hard between this and the ending because
yeah.
I think the ending is also really good.
Yeah,
so.
definitely. I mean, volume 18 is a really, really strong chapter. It's such a perfect like adventure story part where it's just like,
yeah,
there's just one arc that is really strong and good kind of thing.
And then like 15 and 16 are both like bangers.
Fantastic, yeah. I wonder how the reception of it will be when the anime comes out. I think most people are gonna like completely love it, but I bet definitely some people are gonna be like, oh, time travel kind of stuff, you know? It feels like
ReZero.
Yeah. Oh, that's quite a bit later. But I mean, I think it, just
no. I think it'll go over well if
yeah.
they see the fight between like Orsted and Rudeus.
Yeah, definitely.
As long as it's done well, there should be no problems.
Right. I mean,
all people care about is well animated stuff most of the time. It feels like,
yeah.
so.
I mean, people watch Demon Slayer somehow, so. Yeah. So it's like definitely time travel stuff in this kind of is like a little bit out of nowhere, but like it's not bad just because it's like a plot element you've seen before. It's all about the execution, right? And
yeah, no, it's done well.
I think it's used to really good effect, right? Like
it's something that is like, well, okay, well, outside of like Rudeus's future self appearing, it's like with Orsted at least you could very well connect the dots into how this might be.
That is like foreshadowed.
Yeah.
Okay, so that one makes complete sense. And it gives us our context into, okay, this series is about like defeating Hitogami, basically.
Right, yeah. And I mean, like with Rudeus especially, you've seen how many things are wrong in books and how much can be done on his own. It doesn't seem far-fetched for him to be able to develop new types of magic.
Yeah, so. Definitely. I mean, one of the key points of what Rudeus, like old Rudeus says when he comes back is he's like, I realize that what is magic in this world is basically omnipotent, like all around. You can do anything with it.
It's just like whatever you can do with your mana can be magic.
Yeah, like you can do anything as long as you understand the mechanics, pretty much. It's very broken in that way. So, yeah, super interesting section. Really, really done well. I love Eris is finally back. Eris is probably my favorite of the three girls, so glad.
Eris enjoyers have long gone.
I mean, God, it's a long payoff, right? Like, She left end of volume 6, and now volume 16, she's back, baby. So, I mean...
back in full force.
Yeah. Almost whole half of the story away, right?
Yeah. And, like, out of all the dialogue with his wives, most of hers is very funny.
Yeah, definitely. She's a good
just, like, when Rudeus acts like a pure maiden all the time, and he's like, I have been tainted by her.
Yeah, he's like, I can't get married anymore.
It's pretty funny. It's funny.
Yeah, good times. Yeah, she's really fun. I really like her, and she does a lot more than Sylphie or Roxy do by this point in the story. Like they don't have much else coming in the future other than raising kids and like working their own careers and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, that could have been what the Sylphie's change thing was, that she wanted to like take care of the kids and stuff.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah,
kind of what she do. Which is fine. It's just I find Eris a bit more interesting, but like
I mean for sure, especially with the later stuff.
But Sylphie had a whole big time period to like do her own stuff and like all the school work. She's like working for Ariel and stuff like that. So by no means are any of his wives like, like typical damsel characters where it's just like, oh, I'm a wife now. I am as a wife, So
I love you. Yeah. Who am I?
Yeah, exactly. They're all.
My personality is you.
Exactly. They're all super well developed and good.
Yep.
Yeah, I really like Eris. She's super raw. I mean, the moment when she comes back and like saves him in the fight is just like, oh shit, no way. Yeah, it's so sick.
Yep.
That moment of like, finally, all my training pays off to this point kind of thing is so cool.
I mean, she does cut off Orsted's hand.
She cuts off his hand
sword drawn.
and like blocks a bunch of strikes. There's also the moment of like where after Orsted's like realizing that she trained with like the sword god and all that kind of stuff, he's like, wow, you're really cherished. And then there's the moment of like, Orsted will probably try to provoke you too. He's like, have you been training in Gulf Farion's bedroom? That kind of thing. It's like, he says it like directly basically to Rudeus and all of them, and she doesn't get provoked by it at all, that kind of thing. And he's like, wow, you actually have become strong, kind of thing. So
yep.
A lot of development.
Cool stuff.
I mean, just that Orsted, in all the other timelines where he's known Eris, she hasn't been that strong. She's like advanced ranks swordsman at best, usually. And she's always been an idiot in every timeline where all she wants to do is beat the fuck out of anyone who says anything stupid that she hates. And she's just completely belligerent. But seeing the big like moment where it's like, Orsted is like, wow, you're fighting with your friends and waiting for them. Like, you're not attacking me first. Like, you have a strategy, that kind of stuff. And all these different techniques and all this, like, not getting provoked. It's like, Eris has really come a long way since volume 2 of the story, where she was just belligerent, spoiled princess. So, It's very cool. It's very cool. Love seeing the development.
Yeah.
Any other notes on this section? We get more Nanahoshi development. Always cool. We'll get more in the next section, so that's also cool.
Yep.
Ariel is now queen. That's pretty sick.
Good for her.
Yeah. Although Orsted is kind of like, it doesn't super matter. This one doesn't super matter because, like, while having basically who's in charge of Asura, either the first prince or Ariel. If it's the first prince, it's a more militaristic country. And if it's Ariel, it's more like magic based, and they develop more magic technologies and economic based kind of thing. So, and that one is like slightly more helpful for the Laplace War, but either way, it doesn't particularly matter. It's just nice to have it if we can. So
yeah, I mean, Ariel's his friend.
Yeah,
so that's like, why not?
Like, of course, Rudeus wants to help. It means a lot to Sophie, all that kind of stuff. So,
yep.
Yeah. All right, so next time we cover 20 to the end, presumably.
To the end.
Yes, sir.
Part 4 will be the finale.
The finale, the final. Yes, sir.
Everyone's been waiting so long for it.
This is part 4. Is it? And this is part. No, this is part.
This is part 3.
Right. Whew.
So much to talk about.
Yeah. I mean, we were like an hour in and still on 16. I was like, oh my god, I'm saying so much about this. But there's so much that happens that is important. And I mean, all the details. It's not like a volume like 19 where it's like, yeah, slice of life stuff happens. That it's all like, it's all fun and all that. But like, there's all like details you need to know. Otherwise, you come into the Mushoku Tensei Discord server and you say, why doesn't he just kill Roxy when she's in the labyrinth? Hirogami is so stupid. People gotta read. You gotta read.
True. Or don't. You can just listen to the podcast. We'll get you.
We got you, bro. We got you. Yeah. I think something maybe I haven't emphasized enough that really becomes apparent in the diary section, Turning Point 4 and all that kind of stuff is like just the believability of the writing and how it conveys different emotions through different like sentence structure kind of stuff. Like,
yeah.
People talk about I'm gonna sound like a fucking nerd because I only learned this in a class this semester, but for an assignment we were supposed to read Ernest Hemingway. His The Sun Also Rises.
Old Man in the Sea, right?
Well, we read The Sun Also Rises. I don't know.
Okay, that's a book you wrote. If I
probably
remember,
I have no idea.
Let me look.
But I didn't actually read it because it was long and I was busy with other stuff. But one of the main things we focused on with it is that Ernest Hemingway likes to use like short sentences to convey emotion differently from long sentences, which is something I've always focused on in my writing. But specifically for him, a lot of his writing is like very focused on small sentences like, I did this, like specific actions. And I think, it made me think of this section where when he's talking about the diary, that kind of like, I don't want to write anymore for today. Like, where it's just like very blatant, like, sentences like that really get across the feeling because it's such a short sentence that it, the way it is told is completely inseparable from what it makes you think, right? The message changes depending on the sentence, even if the words mean the same thing.
And in context of Rudeus, who always has a lot to say.
Yeah, he's constantly talks in run-on sentences, pretty much, right? Like, and then when you see a big change of that to, I killed blank, he didn't know anything, that kind of stuff. It's like, means a lot.
You just sense how defeated he is.
It means a lot. Yeah, so I think the writing is really strong in this section, for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that
the one thing I do specifically remembering is that Rudeus, at least on the author wrote it, he had a special way of saying shit, which is like sheet. And when the old version of him teleports back, he says it in the exact same way, which is funny. So
yeah, that is funny.
That's just like, oh shit, it's him.
Yeah. That's cool. Like callback kind of thing. Yeah. I don't know. It's always been like, I have problems like reading it as like sheet, because when I read that sheet, I'm like, that's weird. That is never how I would say it, but sure.
It's like
sheet. Yeah, it's like sheet. It's like, especially when it's like,
he calls himself the sheety neat all the time.
It's like that works fine when it's like sheet, that kind of thing. But when it's like, I have to kill Hinogami, sheet. Like it's like
it's weird.
Like, all right, that's what's up.
I don't know if it's just like a Japanese.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's probably just like, internet lingo kind of stuff. Because Rudeus is internet psychopath, so yeah.
All right, I guess we should probably end this.
Definitely so. So thanks for watching, everyone. I appreciate it, and sometime here in the future we'll be back with the final segment of it. So look forward to it, and thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.